Welcome to Riot Fest weekend. I'm James Van Ostel. This is Con Carne. Con Carne, presented by Alex Ross Art. Alex Ross, legendary comic book, graphic novel creator, and he has a pretty cool YouTube channel, and here's Alex to tell you about that.
Hi, this is Alex Ross. I appreciate you guys supporting our YouTube, and we create new content every week. I hope you will continue to support us, and please subscribe.
Con Carne also brought to you by a book called 90 Days in the 90s. It is a trip back in time to the 1990s in Chicago. It's written by my friend, Andy Fry, and he will be, along with his book, at Loud Pizza Records in Highland Park. That is happening on Sunday, October 1st, so you can get a signed copy, take the gray line back to the 1990s, and relive all the music, moments, and pop culture as Darby, the lead character, who owns a record store, goes back to Chicago during those amazing days. What bands does she see? What clubs does she go to? Relive it all. Get the book in person on October 1st at Loud Pizza in Highland Park. Con Carne also sponsored by Easy Automation, easy-automation.net. Are you a homeowner? Are you ready for a truly smart home? Does the idea of minimizing your energy usage while maximizing your comfort sound good? The answer is yes. Easy Automation will help you find a customized solution that is right for you. Their team has more than 30 years of collective experience in the industry and will tailor a service package that fits your lifestyle and needs. Doesn't hurt just to get a quote. Find out more. Go to easy-automation.net or call 630-730-3728, 630-730-3728. We are backstage at Riot Fest for day 2. Sitting next to me, it is Daryl from Snapcase. It is so good to see you right after you got off stage.
Yes, we just finished 10 minutes ago, so thank you.
10 minutes ago, and here you are. You didn't even work up a sweat.
Yeah, no, I'm sweaty.
Fair. So welcome back to Riot Fest. This isn't your first rodeo, so to speak.
No, and honestly, I kind of forgot. I mean, this fest is nothing like what it was when we had played it. I mean, this is much different.
So it was like 2010 when you last played.
I think so. I don't even know.
It just feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah, we're talking like a couple thousand to how many thousand people are here now. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a large crowd. So talk about the performance. I mean, since it's fresh in your head, what was it like taking the stage in front of this crowd? What was it like?
Yeah, so my passion with the band has always been hardcore show, small stage.
Yeah.
People falling all over the stage, falling all over the band, crashing into each other. But we've learned over the years to play on bigger stages, play at events like this, and still make it fun, still bring the hardcore to the festival. So I always try to make a point to get close to the crowd, and today I went right over the barricade into the crowd for our last song. And I'm not the biggest guy, so I end up being like a human pinball. Like everyone's kind of singing along. We were kind of like moshing at the same time, and I just get thrown around. But it's fun, and I don't think there's probably not too many bands going into the crowd at an event this large. So
for sure. And you said something really wonderful, people singing along. All these years later, people are singing those songs right back with you.
That means everything. I'm a lyricist, and I don't even consider myself to be a singer. I'm not a great singer. I'm not very melodic. It's more screaming. So the message is almost more important than the presentation of the words. But yeah.
Hey, and you also said something interesting. I mean, you weren't a singer. Like the fact that you were doing this for Snapcase, that wasn't your original choice.
No, I started in the band. I've always been sort of a motivator. So I was sort of like the person saying, we need to do a band, and I don't even know how to play an instrument, but I'm going to play bass guitar, and my cousin plays guitar, and, my friend, you look cool, you're going to sing. That's kind of how it all starts, and then, but...
if you look cool, you get the gig.
Pretty much. And, I mean, it takes me right back to, screen printing T-shirts in my parents' basement, in the suburbs of Buffalo, and all of that, and us, kind of working side jobs to, buy cheap instruments and amps and all that stuff, We were that kind of band. We weren't given anything.
Thinking about that suburban life, I think suburban Buffalo is probably not that dissimilar from suburban Chicago, where, I mean, initially I was weaned on classic rock growing up, and I know you were too.
Oh, yeah.
That's the suburban experience. Ozzy, Rush, Van Halen, all that stuff.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's funny. I came from a suburb called West Seneca, and West Seneca it's a fine suburb. but it's also got a little bit of a white trash vibe going, like in some parts of it. And so like when I was a teenager or even preteens, it was a lot of like Camaros and Firebirds blasting Billy Squier.
Yes.
And Rush. Rush
Yes.
is a big Buffalo thing. Ozzy and all that stuff. So I've made a West Seneca mix that I've shared with a couple of my West Seneca friends, and they love it. You know, it's all that stuff.
What's your favorite Rush album?
That's a good question. What comes to mind is 2112, but
I'll see your 2112 and I'll raise you a Farewell to Kings.
Farewell to Kings. Okay, so that's earlier, right?
I think
Is that
it
the
was
album
right
before,
after,
or is it right after?
Because right before was Caress of Steel, and that was almost the kiss of death for Rush.
No, and what comes after?
After A Farewell to Kings, I think was Permanent Waves.
What has like Closer to the Heart and Spirit of Radio and all that on it?
Spirit of Radio was Permanent Waves. Closer to the Heart was Farewell to Kings. Oh, and then there was Hemispheres too in 1978.
Yeah, but those two are really great. So like that's, to me, that's when like they really matured as a band, and like they were like officially becoming like great songwriters.
So, okay, this classic rock suburban upbringing, which we know all very well here in the Chicago area, what turned the switch on for the music that transformed you? Like, when did you discover hardcore or punk?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, I was, I got into skateboarding, well, BMX racing, and then skateboarding because my bike got stolen, and then I got into skateboarding, and skateboarding came along with punk rock, and you know, I went to a private high school, and I didn't want to go. But the first day of school, kid behind me said, "Have you ever heard of these bands?" And he gave me a cassette with 4 albums on it, and it was Misfits, Dead Kennedys, Sex Pistols, and The Exploited. And I was like, okay, this is new. So I checked that out, and I kind of like graduated out of like 80s heavy metal into this, and then I found hardcore really fast after that, Black Flag, and then like, you know, Minor Threat and all that stuff, you know.
So, back in the day, Designs for Automation turned a lot of heads. It seemed like you were the right band with the right sound at the exact right time. What do you remember from that era?
More so than that album, I would say Progression Through Unlearning, the album that came out before. We were officially like being able to tour with bands that were like our heroes, like bands like Sick of It All, and you know, meeting all these bands like that we just loved. And we always thought it was important to kind of stay unique. We weren't trying to emulate one specific band or one era of hardcore. And we liked so many different types of music. And I don't know. I don't know what it was, but we got Victory Records got behind us. We ended up with the right producer in Steve Evetts, and he's done a lot of amazing records. And it just all came together. It was like super fun. It was kind of one of those things where we didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know how good it was going to be. We didn't know how well it was going to be received.
And here we are talking about it in 2023.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Never thought it would be talking about any of this far in life.
I still love the Typecase Modulator video. You had the White Stripes color scheme down long before they did.
Oh, true. Yeah, you know, we were ahead on some things. We had our song Zombie Prescription. It still blows our minds that it was never picked up by one of these zombie shows or something.
Right. I mean, it's right there. It's so obvious.
Yeah.
As far as like a final note to fans, let's talk about Bright Flashes.
Oh, Bright Flash. Well, so Bright Flash, our last album that we recorded was End Transmission. And End Transmission was a bit of a story. It was like a future world story. And we pretty much wrote too many songs, and the lyrics and behind the story went beyond what we could put on the album.
Right.
So we had these like extra songs, and then we like tried to do a couple of cover songs in our own studio, which didn't ultimately sound that great. But
I love the Devo stuff.
Oh, cool. Yeah, well, that shows like what we loved, and being a hardcore band, we weren't. I mean, a lot of hardcore bands these days listen to a lot of stuff, but back then it was pretty sterile, and bands like typically listen to all the same stuff. And coming from Buffalo, the bands in Buffalo were the Goo Goo Dolls.
Yeah, of course.
Rick James is from Buffalo, so that's back in our back pocket. But it was the Goo Goo Dolls, 10,000 Maniacs, and Cannibal Corpse. So like that says a lot. And we would see all these bands.
Yeah.
And what the funny thing is, being a smaller town, there was only so many like music bars.
Right.
the guys from Cannibal Corpse, 10,000 Maniacs, and the Goo Goo Dolls literally all were friends and would hang out together drinking. Sure. And, like, that was those days, you know. So I just love that. And to me, like, I like to think that's where our open-mindedness to music came.
Well, that's what a scene should be, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like supportive and communal and...
Yeah.
I mean, there's a hardcore scene, sure, but a local scene I think is really important to nurture and...
Exactly.
And celebrate. So the breakup in 2004 seemed friendly enough. I mean, you did your farewell and you brought back pretty much everyone.
Yeah, I mean... We had to do it because we loved it. We had to do it because it was going to be fun. We had to do it because we felt like we could still be a decent band. We didn't want to be just going through the motions, trying to, you know, collect some money that wasn't there when we were younger. You know what I mean? It's a lot more than that. It has to be fun. And this weekend's been. We all have kind of like regular professional adult lives, so to be able to do this together is really important for all of us to balance our lives, I think.
Is coming here to Riot Fest, is this kind of like summer camp? Where it's like, oh, I'm seeing my friends I haven't seen since last year. I mean, like, oh, there's quicksand. And there's
last year. I haven't seen some of these guys in 20 years. But it's fun, and it's amazing. It's not quite the summer camp vibe because that was sort of like being on the Warped Tour.
Fair.
You know, every single day, you know, for a whole summer. But it's been great. It's been great. I'm excited. And, you know, when we were on stage just now, I looked around the back of the stage and I saw guys from members of all different bands that I love, and that just like inflates me so much. It's like it feels so good.
It's validating.
It motivates me to like make sure I'm like on top of my game too.
So I know you've spent a lot of time in and around Chicago. You're on a local label here. Do you have any special memories or fondness for Chicago?
Well, we had a lot of good friends here, and we would come to Chicago and go do fun things. And I remember early on was kind of like a dance rave scene sort of. There was a club called maybe called Medusas or something.
Yeah.
And I remember going there with some friends, and then I remember there was like a sports plex kind of a place. I don't know. It was like a game room sports place near Wrigley Field.
Oh, Sluggers probably.
Sluggers.
Yeah.
And they had all kinds of games. And they had a game there called Highball. And Highball was like a trampoline game where 4 people would get in on this trampoline, and it was like almost like an X-shaped wall dividing up the trampoline. And you had to jump high enough on the trampoline to get over the wall with a ball, and you could shoot it on one of the 4 nets that were in the other quadrants. And they would try to time their jump bounce on the trampoline to block you. And the netting in between was pliable, so you could, in the air, push against them, and they would go flying to the other end of their quadrant while you're trying. It was amazing.
It sounds like an insurance nightmare.
It doesn't exist anymore, and I would think that's why.
I'm sure that's exactly
but we used to come and play Highball, and actually it wore us out one time so much that we had no energy on stage. My legs felt like rubber, you know, so.
Yeah, lesson learned. Don't do anything healthy or athletic before performing.
Exactly.
Because you got to leave it all on the stage.
Yep.
All right, so Riot Fest is officially behind us. What does the future hold?
Back to work, families, kids, all that stuff.
I want to know about music.
Yeah, I mean, we play like 2 to 3 shows a year. We've got a number of songs that we've worked on and off. Nothing that we felt was good enough. I think we just need to spend more time ironing out what we have and making some solid songs. We've already like written off the idea of like trying to do a full album. We know it would be fun just to do 2 songs and do them right.
Well, and that's also the world we live in now. You can do
Correct.
a la carte. You don't need to have that album concept.
Yeah.
I mean, I still love the album concept, but things have changed.
Now, we did get to do something really cool this past year. So it hasn't come out yet, but the band Refused from Sweden, their album that's considered legendary at this point, The Shape of Punk to Come, they have a 25th anniversary of that coming out. And they've got a really great list of bands, which I don't think I'm able to like tell you, but we're one of them. And we got to record one of the songs off the album because they're going to do a second album that's all covers.
I love that idea.
And we recorded that like over like just under a year ago, and that was a lot of fun to get back in the studio together and super fun.
And the music nerd in me is very excited for this project.
Well, you're going to love it because the variety of bands is really wide, so it's cool.
I love it. Well, I'm glad that you were here today. And even though it's maybe a couple times a year, I'm glad to know that the Snapcase train keeps moving.
Thank you.
And it's a pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you too. Thank you.